All right. I guess I'm not going to gavel the meeting on because we're in workshop, right?
Right.
Okay, so we're in workshop, and we'll go through our workshop. Let's identify,
Well, we actually do have our call to order, our Pledge of Allegiance, and then our public comment, because we have changed things, so I apologize if you do.
okay.
Then we go into the workshop.
All right, so then, all right, I will call the meeting to order, right?
Yes.
So let me call a meeting to order. Let's do a pledge. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. All right. Let me do a roll call. Let's actually ask for responses. So do I see Gorton?
Present.
Smith? Here. Grant?
Here.
Kiriakou is present. Wake?
Present.
Krasikov? Present. And Glauda?
Here.
Or do you prefer Bennett Glauda?
Glauda. Bennett is my middle name.
That's what I was guessing. Okay. The city administrator is in the back because our planner, Natalie Quinn, has usurped his seat as she likes that particular chair when she does planning board meetings. And then the city attorney is here in person as well. So that's great. Good to see you all. Nick, do you need to make a comment up front?
Not yet, I'm going to see how things progress, and then I'll be
Okay.
prepared.
All right, very good. So this is the first opportunity for public comment. As you know, we now have a group schedule where we do both the workshop and our council meeting on the first and the third Mondays of the month, and we said we would move public comments to the front. So this is your first opportunity for public comment, and if I'm reading off the list, the one person who signed up, Dennis Pavlik. Come on up, Dennis. You got 3 minutes, any topic you like. Nice to see you.
Happy New Year to all. I don't know some of you. Some of you know me. I'm here tonight to let people who don't know me on the council what I've been doing for the last 15 years in this room every July 4th. I read the Declaration of Independence every year in this room. Why do I do that? Why did I start doing that? Well, because I didn't think communities, including Dutchess County and around America, they were celebrating enough traditions. So that's why I started doing this 15 years ago. Now it's 16th year. You're all invited to come. It's an open invitation to come July 4th. This year we're starting at noontime. So our chime from last year to this year has changed. So we're at noontime this year, starting at noontime. That's our new time, but the day is the same. So the committee asked me to come here tonight. We had an impromptu meeting, and so then it started to grow. It's starting to get bigger. People are coming here, they want to learn history and know history. And we don't do it just on July 4th, history of that day. We go back to history like when it first became started or up until the future history. So why I'm here tonight is, if you don't like the land of the free and the home of the brave, and I'm just putting it out there, if you don't like that phrase, and the home of the brave, we the people, then don't come to my event. Don't come to my event holding signs, disrupting my meeting. It's taken away from the meeting of what we do. So, I like to ask that. If you want to bring a sign, you can stand out on 90.
15 seconds.
You can stand on 90 with a sign, but not during my event. I will not allow it. I will not tolerate it. I will not allow it. I played the game long enough. I've been here, I used to be here
Your time has elapsed.
20 years.
Thank you,
In that same
Dennis.
seat, 20 years I've been 20 years I've been sitting here. Mayor knows it.
Okay.
Thank you, thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Yeah, if you want to speak, tell us who you are and where you live, or at least approximately.
Hello, my name is Michael Patrick, and I've been living in Ward 2 of Beacon for the past 3.5 years. I'm only 34 years old, and I love it here in Beacon, New York. As an active voter, I'm happy with the elected officials that make up Beacon government. I'd like to thank the City of Beacon government for allowing public comment, and would like to take a moment to personally congratulate the newly elected members. Some things that are important to me as a resident of Beacon are the Beacon Wellness Center located on Fishkill Avenue, affordable housing throughout Dutchess County, Medicaid transportation services, continuing to receive Social Security, and the Dia Museum, as well as the Beacon Movie Theater. The Beacon Wellness Center is an excellent place to learn, recover, and spend time with others. Medicaid transportation is coverage offered to people on Medicaid. Medicaid transportation services are an important part of my quality of life. I have a mental health condition that is a lifelong condition with no known cure, though I try to be as healthy as I can in other ways. I'd like to add, I find the streets of Beacon very clean and safe, although it would be even better if there was less crime, like litter, vandalism, or violence. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Come on up.
I got here too early. Thank you, welcome. Teresa Kraft, concerned resident. First, I want to say that not attaching full packets to the agenda is a disservice to the public. I was happy to read an agenda item for the HDLO, but no packet was attached, and the meeting minutes are just as vague. Many people do not watch the videos. I hope everyone on this board takes the time to watch all the city meetings pertaining to the planning board and zoning boards, and bear in mind that when the most used developer's lawyer, Cuddy and Fetter, stand up at the podium and blackmail and threaten a lawsuit, you should tell them to bring it on. I also attend the Fishkill meetings where they have been challenged with multiple lawsuits from multiple applicants, including Cuddy and Fetter, and they have won all of those cases. Town of Fishkill is not afraid to fight the bullying tactics of these imposing developers. They stand firm in their actions for the benefit of the town residents they're serving. As reiterated at last week's city's planning board during the telephone building segment, it was stated that the board and the public have not seen all the detailed elements that were asked for numerous times, especially how it would look from all sides. The paid city's consultant report submitted as a memo was written out of context concerning the importance of its historical designation. That annex plan is a no-go in my book for all the same reasons I've stated in the past. The hot topic on the streets today is public safety. I've been raising that concern for years, especially in opposition of the rail trail along the Fishkill Creek, and yes, I live on the opposite side of the water, but I'm very concerned, and the Fjords Trail. The New York State released a document almost 1,000 pages long, and my name and comments are all over it. My primary concern is still the potential impact of increased visitation, crime, parking demands, and traffic congestion, along with the limited segment of trails near a brief section of Route 9D. I initially viewed the Fjords Trail as a vital solution for better management and enhancing the protection of our precious trails. However, the findings through this lengthy planning process has gone off the rails, and many people are concerned with the safety of any person on those trails, and we've seen a lot of crime lately in this city. This report suggests a direction that could exasperate and challenge in an already popular area of the natural trails and landscapes. I will continue to oppose both of these trails. Happy New Year's to all of you, and I'll say it again, buckle up.
Thank you. Anyone else in the physical public want to make a comment? Come on up. Sir, tell us who the heck you are and where you might live.
Good evening. My name is Phil Stamatis, Wilson Street. I'm a member of the Conservation Advisory Committee and acting chair for the moment. Thank you to the City Council for all the past work and support you had for the Conservation Advisory Committee over the years. I'd like to thank and welcome the future and current council members sitting there. I want to bring attention, you have the vacancies on your agenda today, so thank you for putting that to the top of the year. We have 2 vacancies, hopefully after today, only 2 vacancies that will still need to be filled. So any community member who's interested, anything environmental, conservation, bikeability, walkability, public transportation, compost, waste reduction, electrification, pollinator pathway, invasive species, I could keep going, obviously. But we have a lot of projects we're hoping to do. We would love to do more, but volunteer bandwidth is always our limiting factor. So we try to levy as much city resources as possible. Regarding Holly O'Grady and her appointment, she has been attending all of our conservation meetings for well over a year. She heads the Pollinator Pathway Group, which I think has been very successful with numerous plots around the city. We'd like to get a few more plots and more pollinators there. I encourage any resident in Beacon or in New York to go onto the New York State, NYSERDA, NYSERDA, NYSERDA website to get a home energy audit. I had one done recently. It's free for any resident. There's no salary or salary requirement. So go on the NYSERDA website, find a local contractor to come do a home energy assessment. They pretty much give your house a report card. And yes, at the end of the day, they are going to try to sell you some kind of home improvement, but that is up for you to decide after you get the facts. It's a free service. NYSERDA pays $300 to whatever company you sign up with, and that's a great service that you can get either a lousy report card or a good report card, and they will also help you find any incentives and rebates that would apply for any projected work. And that's about all. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much. Ben, anyone online wishing to make a comment?
Yes, Mayor, we do have a couple of people online this evening, the first of which will be Johanna. Johanna, you have permission to speak whenever you're ready.
Hi, Joanna Funnell, Ward 4. Firstly, I want to say hello and congratulations to all the new council members. You can't see me, but I can see you. Secondly, this is old news now, but I wanted to also say congratulations to the city on moving forward with the rail trail. I think that's really great news, and I very much look forward to seeing it come to life. Looking to the year ahead, I am eager to continue conversations about Beacon's streetscape, transportation, and equitable mobility. That might not feel like a top of the agenda item for some of you, but it does connect to everyday affordability, quality of life, safety, independence, and a sense of strong community. It is also inherently intertwined with issues such as zoning and congestion. For instance, at the back end of last year, I had several conversations about the impact of new commercial zoning on Main Street business. And whilst I agree that it is important to preserve Main Street, very important, the reality is we have some challenges on our hands. For instance, let's take the rail trail as an example. If this is as successful as we want it to be, then it will mean that many bike or pedestrian commuters from wards 3, 4, eventually Fishkill, perhaps even some tourists, are going to bypass most of Main Street during daylight hours. For this reason, I had much sympathy for former Councilmember Demansky's lament about the Arno not having any commercial units. I know that's a dead horse. I know it's deemed a dead horse. Because we are creating a corridor that will ignore a lot of Main Street on the journey home from the train station, but we'll go right past any creekside developments. I think we should be having a discussion about rail trail adjacent commerce because the competitive set isn't necessarily Main Street for commuters who are coming home by bike or walking. Also, in the last 6 months, we have lost several everyday businesses from Maine, a pharmacy, a bank, and a bike shop, to name some of the most top-of-mind ones from me. This is an unfortunate reality of the free market, but it does mean that we are even more interdependent on our neighboring communities for things like healthcare, chores, and everyday shopping. It is vital that we have good transit and active transportation links between our neighboring municipalities, and that's why I'm a very strong advocate for both the rail trail and the fjord trail. These kind of issues are why I also believe it is essential to move urgently on a strategic vision for Beacon's non-car journeys in the form of a walk-bike master plan. One that can plan for Main Street journeys from the TOD, as well as the rest of our essential corridors. One that thinks about 24/7, 365 journeys, which the rail trail will not address. And do it at once. Do it holistically, all at once, so that it feels less of a ping-pong game with bike advocates. I know there are many projects on the table right now, but we really need to connect up all the dots. Please do it soon. This should have been done before we had the trails planned, before we lost the ferry. I'm not pointing fingers at anyone, but Beacon has talked about planning for bikes for almost 20 years, and we can't keep delaying on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next Zoom speaker will be Yvonne. Yvonne, you have permission to speak whenever you're ready.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, congratulations to the new members on City Council and Happy New Year to everyone. Joanna mentioned the bike master plan. I just wanted to ask for commitment from City Council. Last year, they voted to set aside money for some transportation projects, but we would like to have that formally committed so that we can get matching grant and get moving forward with the bike master plan. Second item, I've had a number of people ask me if the Fishkill Avenue Concepts Committee final report will be released in a public fashion similar to the March meeting that we had last year out at Industrial Arts, where we talked about the progress we had made so far. And I've been kind of surprised how many people seem to expect that that's going to happen with the final report. So I would like to request City Council to make that happen. The third thing is we'd like to get an update on the Blackburn-Fishkill Avenue intersection. You know, there were many complaints about how it seems to be more dangerous now than before the quote-unquote improvements, and we'd like to know where we're at with that, because we were promised that it would be looked at, and if changes needed to be made, that they would be made. And the last thing I'd like to bring up is I'm really concerned about what's going to happen when Mirbeau Spa opens this spring, because one, it's going to make a lot more traffic on 9D, and in particular, how will people from Beacon access the settlement camp property where the Beacon pool is and the disc golf course and a number of other mostly summer events, but there's no sidewalk on that side of the road where the pool is. And the only sidewalk along 9D is on the spa side, but how do you cross the road when there's even more traffic? So those are my 4 items. We look forward to working with all of you this year, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we have one speaker more on Zoom right now, and that is Jessica. Jessica, you have permission to speak whenever you're ready.
Hi, I want to say thank you to all the council members who are here taking their time to listen to us.
Jessica, can you tell us your surname?
My name is, last name is Sheffield, and I live on West Center Street.
Thank you.
I initially just kind of looked up the Zoom call today because I actually am a bike commuter. I go to SUNY Orange for the nursing program. I had my first day classes today. I had to cross the Newburgh Bridge, and I imagine the bridge is not under your guys' jurisdiction, but didn't know who else to reach out to. It was covered in ice today, and it's always frustrating for me on the bridge, in particular the pedestrian area, because every road in the county is perfectly cleared within 24 hours of a snowstorm, but the bridge will get shut down. It's dangerous for, you know, until the sun can melt what it needs to. I feel like it's pretty unmaintained, unfortunately, and it is the only route for people who have to cross the river. Again, I'm not sure that you can do anything about it, but just voicing my concern. While I'm here listening to Johanna and Yvonne speak, I'd like to just support the things that they mentioned as a bike commuter. I also commute down Main Street and 52 to Walmart to work at the pharmacy. Having more bike lanes would be really, really nice. Right now I have to go through the Beacon Hills in order to avoid getting things thrown at me on 52 because there's not proper bike access. And thank you for keeping the free bus going. I know that public transit is expensive and difficult to maintain for many different reasons, but thank you to the City Council and to the City of Beacon for maintaining the access that we do have. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much.
We have no further speakers on Zoom at this time.
All right. So we're now going to shift to our workshop. And during workshop, council prepares for the resolutions and laws and other things that we'll say when we go back to the formal meeting. So let's start that up. And the first thing we want to do is get our city planner, Natalie Quinn, doing a presentation on the historic district and landmark overlay zone. Because one of the things that I'm proposing that we tee up are some additions to that. And for tonight, what I thought we would do is just get an overview, and it's pretty in-depth, and it's also hard to get all of the stuff done. So I wanted Natalie just take the council through what the process looks like, some examples of things that came on and off, and then you'll have homework to look at all the material, right? So which is why this wasn't all put in the packet, right? Because we wanted to have Natalie take you through it. She has a time limit, so let me get her started. Okay?
Perfect. Yes, so Natalie Quinn, pleasure to meet you all. Welcome to all the new members, and hello again to the council members that I've worked with previously. So as the mayor said, today is kind of an orientation to the materials that will be in your packet. There is a lot of legal language and stuff like that and material, so just wanted to kind of orient you all before we kind of gave you that homework assignment. So agenda today is we'll do a quick overview. Oh, sorry that this screen's not working, but it's on the, I don't know if we can rotate that one a little bit.
That's
okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to go stand over the other side. I know the council
Okay.
members may want to do that.
So we'll start with just a quick overview of, you guys probably keep hearing folks say HGLO, so that is the Historic District and Landmarks Overlay Zoning District. We'll go over that and what's entailed in those regulations. We'll focus specifically on the designation criteria for designating landmarks and districts. That is the role of the council. And then we're kind of picking up on some work in 2020 through 2021 by my predecessor, John Clark, who was the planner for the city at that time. He did an inventory of historic properties around the Main Street area. We'll go through which ones were designated, and then there was some that were kind of left off for later, and those are the ones we're talking about now as 2026 potential nominations. And then we'll just close in terms of, benefits to the community and property owners. Why nominate a property to the HGLO, and what are the benefits of that? So first is, when you look at the zoning map, this is kind of the record of the HGLO. When you look at the zoning map, everything in that red hatch, all properties that are covered in that red hatch are landmark properties, right? They have been added either as district or as individual landmarks to the HGLO, so they have specific regulations that apply to them. This is a quick kind of outline. Again, this is all on E-code, on the zoning code that's online. It's chapter 134. We're going to focus on the first 4 sections that I've kind of bolded there, but I did want to let you know everything that's in there, right? So we'll talk about the purpose and the designation of the district. I want to touch on 2 key definitions that kind of tell you what the code's considering, and then we'll talk through the designation process. That is the role, as I notated by that CC, that is kind of the main role of the city council. There's also a list of permitted uses that are specifically allowed to properties within the HGLO, so they kind of have expanded flexible uses as a means to kind of adaptively reuse these historic sites and keep them maintained. Certificates of appropriateness, that is a role of the planning board. Once a property is in this HGLO district, the planning board reviews modifications or alterations to these properties. Specifically in the Main Street districts, there's additional regulations there in terms of design criteria. And then if a property owner feels that some of these regulations are causing a hardship to them, they do have a release valve by going to the ZBA if they're trying to do some kind of update that maybe was denied by the planning board. And then there's aspects of enforcement from the city and penalties if folks are not maintaining these historic properties. So purpose, I think the purpose and the establishment of the district are similar language. Obviously, the intent of this is to encourage the preservation of properties that have special historic or architectural value, significance to the community. The 2 definitions, there's a few other definitions in this section of the code, but I wanted to focus on these 2. So alteration, these are alterations to these properties is what has to go before the planning board for a certificate of appropriateness. And it is changes to identified historical features, which we're going to talk about in a minute, that are visible from public realm, from the public street, from sidewalks. So if you're doing something in your backyard that's not necessarily visible to the street, that does not fall within this review. And it excludes, alteration excludes maintenance, if you're repairing or replacing something in kind, if you're doing plumbing or electrical work, stuff like that can just be a building code or a building permit. It doesn't have to go before the planning board for review. And then the identified historical features, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit today, is when properties are nominated and designated, there is a form that has to be completed, a historic resource inventory form that identifies the key features of that building that are the reason why it's being designated. And so that kind of plays into what aspects of alteration require a certificate of appropriateness.
So if I can use examples, so I have my family has a property that's in the HDLO on 9D. Our porch faces 9D, and therefore that's one of the items that if we wanted to remove the porch, we'd have to go through the planning process.
Yes.
But that wouldn't preclude us from painting or repairing or changing color even. Is that right? Unless it's an identified feature.
Unless it's an identified feature, yes,
right,
correct.
That the paint
but
mattered,
typically, yeah.
Right. And
repair and maintenance, again, that's supposed to be encouraged. That's not, if you're replacing it in kind. If it was wood stairs and you wanted to replace them with metal, or I don't know, some stone or something, right? Yeah. Who would want metal stairs in the Northeast? That sounds terrible. That would be a material change that would likely be reviewed by the planning board.
But if you just wanted to use pressure-treated lumber or go to something that looked like lumber but was some kind of composite that would last much longer than typical wood outside, that would be okay.
I would say typically yes, but I would again, you would go back to the inventory form of why this was designated and see if any of that was brought up in terms of, because sometimes it is like, this was a unique use of stucco at a specific time in this time period, and so that is why it is designated. So you have to go back to the form.
And then the other thing is, before 2020, our statute didn't call for these inventory forms. What's nice about the statute since then is they use the SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Office, inventory form. Mm-hmm. We had a version from 1979 for a lot of our properties, but they would have to be updated. But for instance, our home was put on the HDLO before that was enacted, and so we don't have an inventory form where the city has identified what are the unique features, like the front porch. So we have to deal with that.
Yeah,
but the new ones going forward has this identify the feature in the inventory that we're choosing to want to preserve, right?
Yes.
Which is a really nice addition from the 2020 changes that we made.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So now we'll get into section 4 of the code of chapter 134, and this is kind of the role of the city council. So the city council may act upon its own initiative or a petition from a property owner. The planning board may refer properties to you, or a historic preservation committee or organization. So they can come in multiple ways. You can take it on yourself, or they can be recommended to you for consideration to be designated as a historic landmark or district. They all get added to the HDLO, once they are designated, they get added to the HDLO map. And then, like the mayor was saying, one of the new requirements is all nominations shall now have the New York State resource inventory form if they are designated, so that we have that record of the time of its designation to go back to. In deciding whether to designate a property or a district, there's 3 kind of criteria or eligibility aspects that the council will consider. One is specifically regarding the architectural characteristics of the building or structure in terms of period, style, construction. The other aspect is kind of a special historic feature. So it may not be architecturally impressive, but maybe it was the home of an important historical figure for Beacon or for the U.S. or for this area. And so even if the architecture isn't distinguished, its contribution to the city's history can also make a property eligible for designation. And then also the state and national registers of historic places, they include eligible properties. They identify eligible properties. So you could also review that list and kind of consider those as additions to your own local regulations.
Natalie, a question on that. So when we say is eligible for inclusion, does that mean they have not yet been included in the register?
Correct.
Because if they are included in the register, they're already protected.
On the state level,
Okay.
but not by the local, so they wouldn't come
So
before
even if
your
they're on
planning
the
board.
register, we would want to consider, and I don't think we have a gap there with anything that's on the register that's not in our HDLO.
It's a good thing to look
but-
at, though, in terms of, making sure, because yes, you know, SHPO or the state office reviews their own, but if it's not on your local, HDLO list, then your planning board has no kind of review over it.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So the
Follow
one,
up. Go ahead.
Zach.
I was going to ask, so who is eligible to make a nomination for one of these historic designations? Does it have to be the owner of the property, or can it be anybody?
It can be anybody. It could be a historic organization, right? You'll see, I'm going to get to like the process, and property owners obviously do have to be notified, but it does not have to come from the property owner themselves.
And that's true regardless of whether it's a public or a private property?
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
The one property we have on the historic register that's not in the HDLO is the Nabisco plant, which is now Dia Beacon. I actually did a presentation last year at the Historic Society, and that was the one I found.
So then the rest of the section, the rest of the chapter 134 kind of really goes through the procedures, right? So to your point, Zach, one of the first steps is notice of the proposed designation to the property owner. It has to be done by certified mail. You have to kind of send them the inventory form and make them aware of the public hearing so that they can come and speak to that at the public hearing as well. So you do have to notify the property owner if they're not the applicant or.
So that is the property owner's redress then, is to speak at the public hearing. They have no other appeals process?
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Correct. Yep. Public hearing has to be noticed. How we typically notice public hearings, 14 days in advance in the newspaper. The council then has to hold a public hearing. After the public hearing, the council will kind of go through each nomination. It'll review the criteria in 134.4B, which was this in terms of whether it fits within one of these categories, and then any testimony or evidence that was provided at the public hearing or by staff. And then once a public hearing is closed on that, the board, the council should act within 60 days, or you can extend that out by, notifying that, but failure to act or extend is considered a denial. That's written into the code. And then a supermajority, so a vote of 5, is required to designate a property. And then once the property is designated through that process, you again notify the property owner, and then the zoning map is updated to include that. This is just kind of the form. They're not super lengthy, right? But there's a 2-page form. You identify the site, you provide historic photos of the site if you have them, and then there's a narrative write-up and current photos of the site to kind of help, again, the planning board or staff kind of when they're reviewing alterations to go back and see what was intended to be preserved.
Reading these forms when we did this a couple years ago was like one of the highlights of my time on
So
council.
fun.
They were so good.
I have a bullet about education because it is, it's very fun.
They were so good.
Yeah. So then kind of picking up on the work that was done by John Clark, right, who was the planner, it was 2020 to 2021. He went through and inventoried sites kind of all around Main Street. There was originally 35 properties. It was in the CMS and surrounding zoning districts, which were slightly different at that time. This was intended, we do have a 1979 historic inventory that went through the full city, and so he kind of, I think, pulled some from that and then went out and investigated them, 30, something years later. And then the ones that were included in that 35 properties list were excellent or very good condition that were proposed for addition. Also, what happened during that inventory is some of those properties from the 1979 historic inventory had kind of fallen into disrepair, had alterations done to them, had been demolished, had been lost, right? So there was also a number of properties that were considered, but specifically not nominated. And you'll have this list in your, this list in these photos, for example, in your packet. And he kind of went through and noted what was replaced on them, like the siding was replaced or the storefront was remodeled or it was a new porch, and he kind of highlighted aspects about why this property was no longer eligible in his opinion.
And so the one on your screen are ones that were not considered kind of intact enough.
Yeah.
And so on the left in the middle is the creamery, not much of a building. On the right in the middle is the subway, and if you look, there's stucco all over the wall. And then on the top right is a house on Willow Street, and you can see the old picture was a very cool house, and you'll have this whole deck. But the one that's there now is like...
It's still a very cool house.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's still a lovely, lovely
Yes,
home.
I apologize if I've insulted someone, but it doesn't have quite the same historic features that were in the original, right? And so that'll be some of the things that, you know, you'll look when you see materials being proposed, and we'll talk our way through it, and then the public, because she's going to go through process, Natalie, will have opportunities to also get involved.
So that process, it was actually wrapped up in 2021. What ended up happening was, of the 35 identified properties, the council at that time decided to designate 15, focus just on properties that fell within the CMS, the Main Street zoning district, and kind of left the other ones. They wanted to focus on those ones first, get those done, and then kind of left the remainder for now. So that's what we're looking at today, is the remaining 17 properties. There were 3 that through the nomination process were actually decided, eliminated from consideration. So we're now left with 17 properties from the 2020 inventory that are not in the CMS, but they're immediately around it. As you can see, kind of a lot on South Ave, which is, 14 through 17 there, and just kind of north of Main Street. So they fall within the surrounding T, RD5, and R175 zoning districts near Main Street. I have a list of the addresses there. I will say, and then you do have, right now we don't have the full forms. I don't know, the mayor and I are going to check the records to see. I don't think the full inventory form was prepared for each of these, but we have the initial kind of assessment, right, that John Clark did, where he went, took a photo, and kind of notated aspects of the property. So you have that for all 17 of those. That will be in your packet. And the next step from here would be, it has been about 5 years, so it's worth going back out, inventorying these again, taking photos again, to see what has changed from the original inventory. And then if the council wants to proceed with nominating these and potentially designating these, we would then proceed with filling out the full forms and kind of collecting the historic information on these sites.
Last time that we did this, I think that John had also partnered with the Historic Society. I wonder if we just want to reach out to them and see if there was anything on their radar that wasn't in this first pass in 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Again, I did a presentation at the Historical Society last summer, and I kind of gave them the challenge of, we have this work to do, and would, a group be interested? If it would be helpful, I can reach out to them, because they may have views on these, but then once we get through these, we won't have looked at properties beyond the edges of Main Street, and there will be a few more. I give you one that we're looking at recently, the high school. I'll take that back. High school might have been enacted in 2010. We need to check the record for that. It's not on our map, but I saw it in my research. But there are others kind of further out that we may want to consider. So this would kind of give us the start. And if we want to process, maybe we could rope the Historical Society to kind of do some inventories and make some recommendations.
Yeah, I would just be interested in what's, if there's anything on their mind above the ones that we already looked at in 2020. I'm not sure there's a lot of low-hanging fruit there from what we didn't approve last time.
And then, so I just wanted to kind of close out the presentation of why go through this work. Obviously, I think Beacon cares a lot about its history and its architecture, so there is the cultural and aesthetic preservation of these. I think, as we talked about, this is a really cool opportunity for community engagement and education. I think some of these history aspects could be, we could use these as social media and updates kind of to the community to share this information as it's collected through this process. It does provide stability in property values, kind of knowing that these historic properties that give character to neighborhoods will be maintained. There is the benefit of the code is that you do get more flexible uses, right? So you get your underlying kind of whatever zoning district you're in says you can have this, single family, 2-family, or whatever uses are permitted there. If you're in the HGLO, there is a list of additional uses that are appropriate for historic properties that may make it easier to rehabilitate and activate a site. These properties are often large, they're often very expensive to maintain, so alternate sources of income can be very beneficial for these, for their maintenance. There is an assessment abatement locally, so if you're in the HGLO, your assessment does not go up based on your improvements to kind of give you the benefit of the work that you're putting in to maintain these. And then you do become eligible for New York State historic tax credits for some of these properties too. So that's a benefit to the property owner for getting tax credits to do this work as well. So that's where I had that ending. So that was the quick overview. Like I said, we'll kind of package all this material and give this to you. I just wanted to orient you to it first before we sent you everything, so you know what you're looking at.
A question, if, no, thank you for presentation first. If one of these 17 property owners submits an application now to the planning board for some alterations, changes, they will proceed as just a regular property, right?
Yes. So depending what the use is, usually dictates whether it goes before the planning board for review. If it is a single-family home, it may be something that is just kind of building permit, or it may rise to the level. But yeah, so right now, they wouldn't be held to the standards that are in this section of the code. But I was going back up because the process does start as soon as the notice of proposed designation goes out. As soon as that process begins, no building permits can be issued. So that kind of, once this process is started, it puts a temporary hold until the council moves through the consideration, the public hearing, and potential designation.
I think it will be very important for the homeowners to know that this is coming, because some might have been planning some renovation work and might, be caught off guard.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That is the first step. If we decide to proceed with this, first step is notification.
But there's no step ahead of that. Like, we're not planning to notify the 17 properties that we are considering them at all, or starting this process.
Yeah, I think Natalie and I discussed this being the intro to kind of give you an orientation, and then our next step was, if we choose to let's start the process, then they would be noticed, right, according to the process.
Okay. And then just to clarify in terms of expectations of sharing out this information with the public, we will expect a packet of more information on January 30th ahead of our February 2nd meeting. Is that right? And could I request that this presentation be put online in its current form in the meantime so the public can reference?
Yeah, and the question for us tonight is, do we want to start up this process? And we wanted to give you that orientation before we had that, ask, because we didn't think it would be useful to ask you without it, right?
Yes, I would like to restart or revisit this process. I would like to broaden our scope above just the 17 properties that weren't included last time. I remember them. I don't remember there being more than one or two that I was like, I could have gone for that one. So I would like us to consider a little bit of a broader lens on this. Maybe it's something that we revisit periodically. I also had another thought with the Historic Society. They have that program, and I'm saying this as somebody who got one of the plaques for people who had homes over 100 years old. Yep. Maybe we ask if there was anything really noteworthy in some of those. And I generally invite the public to let us know if there's a building or something that they think might fit this designation in their neighborhood that we can take a look at.
Yeah, I think also along those lines, since the last inventory was in 2020, if anything has happened of note in the preceding 6 years, if somebody gained, Beaconite gained fame, I'm not sure off the top of my head, but yeah, any number of things could have happened that might be worthy of checking out to see what's new.
Yeah.
I'll say that from my perspective, this is not a particular priority for me, but if it's of interest to the rest of council, I understand that this is part of our responsibility.
Okay. So I hear two next steps. One is to start bringing materials to council, at least on this part, and then we can do an outreach to the Historical Society. Yeah, the starting point is the 79 inventory, which was citywide and thorough, and it was done by SHPO Consultants. That material is available online on the SHPO site. There's a system called CRIS where you can actually get them. I downloaded ours from 1979 for our home, but it hasn't been updated in 50 years or 45 years. And so, you know, that would be a starting point.
God, that's 50 years.
Yeah, I know, right?
49,
So let me see if I can get the
49.
Historical Society
It's like
interested.
47.
I have a potential chair for a group if we thought that was appropriate. So I just wanted to start up by doing this intro first, all right? Okay, we good? And then Natalie, before you go, we had talked about, you know, potential other topics that we would bring for zoning. We just thought this would be a nice kind of starting point for the council because there's a lot of new members. But we also have the Fishkill Avenue zoning steps, potentially something on short-term rentals. We also talked about, is there something else?
Inclusionary zoning?
I'm sorry?
Inclusionary zoning?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
we can bring that up.
And form-based zoning?
So we have form-based zoning in Main Street
Linkage District.
and Fishkill Creek,
Yes.
right? Those three.
Yeah.
And then we're looking at doing the same for Fishkill, the Fishkill Avenue Committee, that section of 52.
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah. So where it really matters is where we've got it, but you'll see that coming forward too. All right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody good?
Yeah, do we need to have a conversation around prioritizing that list, or is there a rough timeline on when we would expect to see those items come back to us on the agenda?
So why don't we come back with you when we introduce the historic piece? We'll also give you a proposed schedule. How about that? What do you think?
happy
All
with
right?
that. Mhm.
Right, because it'll take a little while, like the
Sure.
Fishkill Avenue, you got to chunk it into parts and kind of
Sure.
work your way through it. And Natalie will be taking lead on that, but we'll get back to you, right?
Yeah.
Great.
And, you know, we can set our priorities based on that. Okay?
Thank you for keeping that conversation going.
Right, thank you all.
Right, and we
Are you
have,
gonna give Chris his
we
seat
have
back?
one more, yeah, we have
Okay.
one more thing. You can go. We also have 248 to bring forward and finish up. That was the other item. I was trying
Correct.
to
They're
remember.
working on their plans. I expect they'll be before the council in February.
Right, okay? Can't wait. Yeah, because I wanted to kind of give you a list of what we're looking at on zoning stuff, and then you'll see the pieces come forward, all right? Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.
I just want to say before Natalie departs, we're in good hands with our planner, so it's been very good, and we're very happy to have her. And John Clark was a tough act to follow, right? Because John worked for Dutchess County Planning, focused on Beacon for most of his career. In fact, I saw pictures of him during the 1979 inventory when he was a young pup.
Yes.
And then when he retired, he became an independent consultant and only had one client, which was Beacon. And so we were extremely fortunate to have him as our planner. But I think Natalie's done a good job following in his footsteps, and I'm very appreciative. Okay. We have got some appointments. Ben, I'm going to hand them off to you because I think you've got the materials on Marissa, Holly, Andrew, and Sam.
Absolutely, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Yes, as Phil kind of alluded to earlier, we're very pleased to bring forward some really excellent candidates to your attention tonight for consideration across 3 different committees. The first of which is the Conservation Advisory Committee, which we typically will just call the CAC for those of you who haven't interacted with that group very often in the past. But we actually have 2 appointments for that to bring to your attention this evening. The first of which is Marissa. Marissa is an existing member of the CAC. I think she's done 2 terms on the committee already. Apologies, it's more than that. It's at least 2. And she's gotten very good feedback from everyone who's worked with her on the committee over the years. She's been very involved in handling recycling with the group, with the pollinator pathway subcommittee or committee, and also the compost working group. So she's been a wonderful asset to the committee, and we're pleased to bring her back to the council for consideration to have her continue to serve. The next is Holly. Holly has been very involved in the Pollinator Pathways Committee as well, and she's actually been actively attending CAC meetings for quite some time, Phil told me, and he highly recommended that the council move forward with bringing her on officially as a member of the CAC. Before I move on to the other committees, I'm happy to take any questions if you have any about how these committees work, when they meet, things like that.
I'll just note for Marissa that she also pretty much single-handedly runs the city's soft plastics recycling program, literally goes through all the piles and cleans them out. So if anyone has a clean plastic bag or other filmy plastic, there's a drop spot at the Hudson Valley Brewery.
As a former chair of Conservation Advisory Committee, I can very highly vouch for both Marissa and Holly. Marissa has been very present and very effective. She also has a perspective of a business owner, and she brings and started trying to bring other businesses into more sustainable kind of fold. And she understands the challenges, understands what's involved in running a business. Holly has started to attend with interest in pollinators, but quite quickly became involved in many other projects and initiatives Conservation Advisory Committee was doing, and she's great at organizing, and she's committed to Beacon and its sustainability. So I think both are very great members of the committee.
Sergey, I think Phil said there are 2 more vacancies on the CAC.
That's correct.
I'm curious from your perspective, if, knowing the current makeup of the committee, if there are particular areas of expertise or perspectives that you think would particularly complement the CAC as, the city is actively trying to recruit to fill those vacancies.
I think people with a specific knowledge in climate planning can be very helpful. I know Conservation Advisory Committee is involved in Community Climate Action Plan work, which is inventory of gas emissions for the city and as a whole, and steps that can be done. It also includes climate risk assessment, vulnerability assessment, and planning work. So people with specialized expertise can be very, very helpful. It can also be just people great at organizing. It can be, I guess, we do have graphic designers, and I think anybody with a heart towards environment.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
I have a question. Thank you for asking my question, Paloma, about the other 2 vacancies. You were formerly the chair of the committee. Is there a new chair now? Has a new chair been nominated?
So I'm about to announce it when I get to the mayor's report. And the person might have been in the room, too.
Understood.
Okay. But yeah, it's coming up.
Okay.
I'll also say, for all of these committee appointments, in the past, we've had committees come in and present to council just on what they're doing, what they do, and sometimes that's been ad hoc, sometimes that's been organized. I know that at one point there was, I believe, a slide presentation that Ben put together, just giving the council an overview on what all of our committees are, and I would just suggest that we do that again in whatever timeline or capacity our administration has.
Okay. Be good to look at the other ones, because
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you all for the feedback. Appreciate that. As for the other 2, the third, Andrew Kurdiak, is a candidate for the Tree Advisory Committee. He comes, like Holly, comes very highly recommended by the chair of the Tree Advisory Committee. So in that case, that's Andy Bell, who has spoken to both the mayor and I on a number of occasions, highly recommending Andrew, who has actually been in attendance for quite a while of the meetings that they hold. And he's very excited to have Andrew officially joining the committee, should the vote go through this evening. And lastly, Samuel Schmitz, Well, we have a new vacancy on the Traffic Safety Committee after one of our members graduated to City Council, and we are looking to fill that. It's a relatively small committee, so filling that pretty quickly is helpful because we'll have a quorum. Samuel's application came in and had a very impressive background and skill set that we think will add a lot. For those of you who don't know, we also have a planning board appointee on the Traffic Safety Committee, so it's helpful to have people who have kind of an understanding of urban planning and other related skills that can help evaluate things that come in that the committee considers and reviews. So those are the other two appointments. Happy to answer any specific questions about them as well, if there are any from the council.
I don't have a question about the applicant in particular, but I do have a question about if we can open a discussion about the makeup of the committee, specifically with the Traffic Safety Committee. Having been the former person on that committee and noting that it is a small committee, there are, Ben can attest to this, there are a number of times that we showed up and did not have a quorum because there's only 5 people on the committee, so that was a problem in the past. So I see the need to fill this vacancy quickly. That being said, I do have 2 issues I want to raise before moving forward with this appointment. And one is that in our code, there are no term limits for the Traffic Safety Committee that are noted. So, I mean, for instance, was appointed in 2020, and I continued to serve until I joined City Council, and had got no guidance over how long I was going to be there. It's only just by the fact of running for elected office that I ended up here. Our chair has been there since before I got there, and I also, since I have a microphone here, I want to say wonderful things about Chair Matt Dubesky. He does a great job, and he brings a wealth of knowledge to the committee. But there's no guidance in the code about the chairmanship.
So with respect to that, when there is no set term, the term limit then is coincides with the appointing officer. So in this case, the mayor makes the appointment to the Traffic Safety Committee, so those individuals serve a 4-year term. If they are not if there's no reappointment, they continue until their successor is appointed. They're considered holdovers. So if there is a term, it's 4 years. You're correct, it's not specifically enumerated, but that is how it is under the law, that if a new mayor comes in, they can nominate someone, they don't have to remove that person because that person's term has expired. A mayor can't appoint someone unless it's in the statute for a term longer than the term upon which they themselves serve.
Sorry, Nick, so I understand, it's a 4-year term, or it's for the term of the person that appointed them?
It is for the term of the person that appointed them,
Okay.
correct.
Interesting.
Which can be no more than 4 years.
And that's the state law that
Yes.
is in the municipal code.
Correct.
Got it.
Interesting.
It's not in the code, it's correct, state law.
Okay.
I'm hearing one thing from you, Carolyn, also, which is this committee large enough if you're having an issue getting quorum, or is that the wrong way of thinking about that?
That is another thing I wanted to bring up. Thank you for teeing that up for me. I was looking, I spent some time over the weekend looking through all of the committees that we have here in Beacon, the ones that are currently active, the ones that are boards, the ones that are statutory, the ones that are advisory, and it is on the smaller side. The only other 5-person committee is the Tree Committee, and one other thing of note with the Traffic Safety Committee is that 3 of the members are ex officio. From the police department, the chief of police, the superintendent of streets, and a representative chosen by the planning board. So that only leaves room for 2 residents and 2 appointments by the mayor. So I think that an issue is often, because the ex officio appointees have to perform the duties of their jobs that come before performing the, service to the Traffic Safety Committee, we often did get into emergency situations where we couldn't have a quorum, and I took time off work, and I showed up at City Hall, and then there was no meeting. So I think that adding a few 2 or 3 spots for the general public might help resolve that issue. I also think that there's a benefit to having I mean, I really like the idea of having somebody with architectural and urban planning design experience, but I think there is a benefit to having somebody who represents pedestrians and cyclists. 10 to 20% of Americans don't drive. And having the point of view from somebody who is reliant on public transportation or cycling or other, like pedestrian access to get around, it's imperative that we have that, because there's reasons people can't drive: for disability, for age, for issues with their license, for their legal status. I think on the Traffic Safety Committee, it's really important to have somebody representing the pedestrian community. And I do see that that the appointment that pardon me, sorry, I'm getting flustered. I'm talking too much. I see that the person that we're appointing does have background in that, and I think that's fantastic. But I think something to think about when we nominate somebody from the public is their pedestrian point of view.
I also want to get back to the point you made earlier about the chair, that the process of nominating the chair is not prescribed in the code.
Yeah. I don't know how Matt got nominated. I came to the committee and he was already the chair, and he's been serving as the chair.
I think, unless specified, a chair is up to the mayor, I believe, right, Nick?
I believe, I'm just looking for to make sure it's not addressed, and it is not addressed in the
Yeah.
code, right? Then it would be appointed by the mayor.
All right, so like this CAC, for instance, that doesn't specify how that happens, and so that's done by the mayor. Also, too, the Board of Assessment Review is 5 members, and the Zoning Board of Appeals is 5 members, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right. I made a little chart, and that is correct.
So everybody good with these two?
Well, I'd like to consider Carolyn's suggestion that the Traffic and Safety Committee potentially have additional members. Is that the composition of the Traffic and Safety Committee sort of designated in our code?
It is, it's in the code, so then it would
Okay.
require a local law be adopted, subject to a public hearing, to modify that. So we have
So-
to prepare a local law, workshop it, and
Yeah, I think
determine
that,
what is that number.
from what I understand of the issue is, I think it's because the group meets during the day, and that the planning board member who was delegated to do that works in the city, right, if I'm not mistaken?
That could be the historical reason, but in the code, it isn't, the committee can choose when they meet.
Right, so it
So
would-
that's flexible. And, I mean, I'm curious if anybody else applied for this. I don't know if people are knocking down the door to volunteer. But another issue I want to raise is that the application form on the website was broken up until I called it out at the last meeting. So if there were people that were interested in applying, they might have looked at the website and got turned away. And that is the case for a couple of our committees. I know that on our website, on the main list of committees, all the way at the bottom of the site, there is the form for applying for any committee, but the individual committee application forms are broken. So I would, if there is only one opening, I don't know if we've given the public a fair chance to apply.
I guess I would say if you are really interested in applying for a committee and the form doesn't work, like, why wouldn't you just send an email and tell somebody about that? So, I mean, I don't really see a dire need to hold off on this appointment, especially for somebody so well qualified.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that somehow the person figured out how to do it and applied regardless. Yeah, from what I can tell too, the easiest one is just go to the bottom, fill out the form. Ben, are you aware of the link issue on any individual committee? And have we resolved that?
I'll look into that, and I can speak to Councilmember Glaude about that after the meeting. I did find the issue with the particular one for the Traffic Safety Committee, which I believe is completely resolved, but if there are others, we'll definitely get that addressed.
Other comments after Amber's? Okay. All right, let's keep going. if that's all right. And then we will take a look at the issue of either the count of the Traffic Safety Committee or the timing with which they meet, or possibly something else like you can do Zoom or whatever as a way of starting to address, you know, an issue of quorum, right? Because we obviously need to make that work. And we'll get back to you on that. All right, as a to-do? All right. Let's keep going. We've got 3 more items. There's an intermunicipal agreement with the town of East Fishkill because we share our tax assessor. Nick, that one's yours to explain.
Thank you, Mayor. So New York State law requires municipalities to have an assessor. The assessor performs the function of determining the valuation of properties, which is then used to determine the tax rate that is applied to your budget to collect real property taxes assessed by the various agencies, the school district, the county, and the city. The position is actually called the sole appointed assessor, and it's a 6-year term that's set by New York State law that runs from this term, it's October 1st of 25 to September 30th of 2031. And New York State law allows municipalities to enter into what are called IMAs, intermunicipal agreements. And those are agreements that govern shared services or cost-saving measures that municipalities can enter into in their discretion if they determine it to be in the public's interest. With respect to the Office of Assessor, there's a special provision in New York State law that allows and recognizes there can be a shared assessor. Beacon has had a shared assessor with East Fishkill for, I think, over 2 decades. That is why grievance day, which is the date that individuals, property owners can challenge their tax assessment, is on a different date in Beacon than in other communities because you have a shared assessor who can only be in one place at one time. So what you're doing with tonight's proposed resolution is entering into an intermunicipal agreement with the town of East Fishkill that sets forth the compensation for those shared services. And in our memorandum, we outline what those services are, what the cost is, what the percentage is. We've reviewed this with city administrator, the city's finance director, and the city's assessor, as well as with the town of East Fishkill counterparts. And the town of East Fishkill has already adopted a resolution authorizing entry into this agreement, and so we're just asking if the city council approve this as well.
And remind me, we have somebody, I forget what their title is, but there's somebody who's like an assessor assistant who's
like
here?
A deputy, yeah,
Thank you.
part-time.
So we do have somebody who's also like a City of Beacon employee, or is that also intermunicipal?
No, Sylvia is a City of Beacon employee part-time.
Okay.
Yeah. And then just the one piece to add is in resolution number 84 of last year, we did reappoint Kathy Martin for the 6-year term that she's serving. The agreement is basically just for how we cost share that. So we have 30% of her time and we pay 30% of her salary.
All right, and that's because East Fishkill is the bigger of the 2 communities in terms of the number of parcels to work with.
Yeah.
And then just for information, this is an official program with the Office of Real Property Tax Services. There's another pair of communities in Dutchess, so Fishkill and Wappingers also share an assessor in the county, and then there's others across the state. But those 4 of us in Southern Dutchess have 2 assessors between the 4 communities.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't have any concern with the amount of time that's allocated to Beacon. I mean, Kathy Martin has been very good. She comes to meetings. I've never heard any complaints about responsiveness or anything like that, so I don't think there's an issue there.
Okay. And then the only thing I'd add is, yeah, you can hire additional staff so that you don't feel like, oh, there's nobody here, right? And we do that with Sylvia. And then we also are full value assessing communities, which means the 2 communities together stay at 100% or close to it. And there's a great benefit as long as you keep doing that, because even if you're a little bit below market value, you get an assessment and therefore a share of taxes as if you are at full value. And communities who don't go to full value don't get that benefit. And I'll explain more of that when we get to assessments, right? Because it will take a little bit. Don't worry. And then we'll talk about what's the bane of our existence?
Levies?
No, the
Base proportions?
Base proportions
Homestead.
between our 2 tax categories, but we won't get to that for a long time, and no one will still understand it. Don't worry, because I don't. Okay, so that's the one, and then the second one is a request to extend our room occupancy tax. That's a request to the state, is that what we do?
It is. So the municipality doesn't have the right to enact or assess taxes unless authorized by state law. So we have real property taxes. There is a sales tax that the city could assess, but instead it delegates it to the county, and you have the sales tax agreement. The other tax that is commonly authorized for about over 100 communities in New York State is a occupancy tax, a hotel tax or accommodation tax. You can't do that unless there's authorization by the state, and that's called a special legislation. And so there's a specific chapter in New York State tax law that allows the city of Beacon to assess an occupancy tax that is assessed against Airbnbs, short-term rentals, hotels, and motels. And there's a whole statute in state law that sets forth how that is applied. It needs to be reauthorized every 2 years. Every municipality goes through this every 2 years. There will be a reauthorization. It's state legislation. Your local assembly person and senator would introduce it in their respective counterparts, and they look for support from the local community to ask that request be undertaken. Typically, it's one of the last items considered on the agenda of legislation in June after the budget is being adopted and before they retire for the session. And so you would be adopting a resolution asking for that legislation that was adopted 2 years ago to be reauthorized. The city adopted a local law, so New York State just gives you the authority to do so. You then have to take that and enact it in your community. The city has done that, and we enacted the law with a provision that as long as New York State continues the law, your law is in effect. So you don't have to readopt your local law every 2 years. We gave some thought to that and said, let's just do it once. And so it's a 2% tax. You did have the ability to go up to 5%. The council chose to keep it at 2%, which is in keeping with other communities. It took effect on January 1st, and then the city's been processing, working that in, and collecting the occupancy tax.
Everybody good?
I have one question about short-term rental platforms and compliance.
Yes.
How is compliance, and do they share the tax even for units that are not registered in Beacon and are not allowed to operate?
I don't know if, Chris, if you have more information on that, but I understand the county collects the occupancy tax, and they do work with the short-term rental platforms and I believe they still have an outside vendor who monitors compliance for that.
And that's my understanding as well.
Okay.
I have a question. Are residents of Beacon exempt from this tax?
They are not, no. Anyone who's
But generally, they don't, unless you're staying somewhere in Beacon, you wouldn't.
Well, I'm asking that with Marabou Spa coming, I'm assuming a lot of us will be staying there, so we'll be taxed to stay there and
You'll be
enjoy
taxed.
this.
Yeah.
Okay. And then last item for workshop is just the block grant program. And Chris, you're going to take us through what we need to do?
Yeah, if I could just give a little background, we receive money each year from the County of Dutchess. That's a pass-through of federal money from Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. The Community Development Block Grant are monies that go for infrastructure, and they're usually targeted towards low and moderate income areas. So generally, we have a map in Beacon of neighborhoods that would qualify for this, and each year they do a round of funding. We have been getting in the neighborhood of 160 to 200,000 each year. And we've been putting it towards sidewalks. You'll see over the last 4 years, we have been rebuilding the South Avenue area. We did sidewalks on both sides of South Avenue. We did West Center Street. And this year, we just got the agreement for the 2025 money that was held up for a while by the federal government, but it's finally coming through, and we're doing sidewalks on Walcott Avenue next to the Beacon Housing Authority. They're already opening the next round, and it's a very truncated process. So we have to have a public hearing before our application is due in March. And the public hearing is for people, and I've explained this to the council in the past, we're really almost a year ahead of we have to be a year ahead, because we have to quickly put together cost estimates for the project and what it looks like. In this case, we're looking at doing the sidewalks in front of South Avenue School. We've done almost that entire neighborhood. and we had the city engineer looking at that, but people are welcome to come and say, you know, where they would want that to happen. Ben will be uploading, I think in your packet is the application materials, but they don't give us a lot of time to, if somebody comes in and gives us an idea, we don't even have the time to turn that around until next year, but we would certainly consider it for next year. These funds have been kind of up for grabs. The last year, we didn't know if we were going to get any allocation last year, so we held off on the bid. We will be bidding that project in April, and that's for replacing the sidewalks on Wolcott Avenue between South Avenue, where we left off with new sidewalks, and the entrance to Beacon Housing Authority.
So Chris, what we're doing tonight is setting the public hearing for, what is it, Paloma, February 2nd?
I think it's the one after that, isn't it?
One after that? Okay. And the proposal is that we would do the sidewalks around South Avenue School.
I'm vetting that now with the city engineer to see how many linear feet that is and how much we think it would be.
Okay.
It looks like it could fit, and then if we have extra capacity, we could figure out something. Maybe we go up South Davies Terrace, because that sidewalk's in terrible shape.
But regardless, we have to set the public hearing so that we can move forward with this process,
Yes.
so.
Yeah, and we have to have a letter of interest in by February 2nd, and so I'm scurrying to get, we had no idea this was opening
Is this
so
earlier?
quickly. This is
Yeah.
a lot earlier.
Yeah,
Like
wasn't
it's
it like mid-year?
It's usually summer that this opens, so I understand why they're doing it. It makes sense, but we had no warning. It just came out.
Okay.
Yeah, and I recall last time it also came out at a time that was very unpredictable with a very short timeline. And at the time, we talked about potentially trying to queue up projects or have a priority list. I know that, and in terms of moving forward with this round, the South Avenue School prioritization makes sense to me. But for future planning, I imagine that the sidewalk inventory that we discussed might be a helpful tool for us. Can you just remind me what the timeline is on that?
I corresponded with the Dutchess County Transportation Council earlier today, and they're hoping to have some draft materials back from Creighton Manning Engineering, which is the contractor doing the inventory, in the next few weeks. So I'm hoping to have something to bring to you in maybe February or March.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Great. And then I think the only other thing, maybe you touched on this for the public's knowledge, the entire city is not eligible for CB, whatever.
CDBG.
There are only, there are only certain areas that we can use this funding in. So again, like, really happy for people to come and bring ideas, but not everything would be eligible for the funding regardless of whether we thought it was a great idea.
And we have been putting it into sidewalks, and sidewalks are quite expensive. We usually are able to do 500 to 600 linear feet of ADA compliant sidewalk with new curbs. And then we do the ADA curb ramps, we do crosswalks. It also can fund, we removed part of a sidewalk. You'll see on West Center Street, we got rid of one really decrepit sidewalk and then built a really nice one. So we're trying to focus in one area and get all of those sidewalks taken care of. And hopefully next year's project will do that.
Right, and just the area that we're limited to is based on census tracts and income levels, and our area has kind of been shrinking over time, right? So then that's kind of the one significant area still left, right? It's not the only one, but it's the only one, it's the large one.
Fishkill Avenue's on it as well. So that area.
Yeah.
Is there?
We'll get you the map. But Ben will, I knew that was coming. So Ben, let's find that map and put it in the packet.
Yeah, I think it will be very important for the residents to be able to see the map.
The map is not very good. You have to extrapolate what streets are what. I don't know why we can't get a better map from the county.
Maybe that will be part of our Dutchess County Transportation
Yes, well,
grant, a
certainly.
usable map.
So the only other.
Well, no concerns with the public hearing.
And I did talk to the superintendent of schools about this last year, and he was very happy to hear that we were considering the front of the school.
Great. Good.
And my only note is that we use the Transportation Council for grants like the sidewalk work. They not only work with us because we tee up the right things, we take our time, but they also do it that we don't require our own resources to kind of oversee those projects.
Correct. And they are much more specialized in this.
Yeah. Okay, everybody good?
Yes.
All right, so
Thank you.
that is our workshop. We're going to shift back to formal meeting, and let's do reports. And who wants to start first? I'm going to start down with Carolyn and work our way across. Is that okay?
I guess so, yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you. I guess it's wild that it's 2 weeks of meeting, and I feel like it's been like 4 months of activity in the last 2 weeks. So just throwing back to January 7th, the water main break. Chris, I want to thank you and everyone in DPW for taking care of that so quickly. I'm sure other people might have something to say about it. I particularly want to just thank the network of parents who did not complain about the fact that school was suddenly dismissed at 1:15 and gathered together and found ways to watch each other's children. So I just experienced that firsthand and really appreciative of everybody who pitched in to help when school was suddenly dismissed. I attended the fairground ribbon cutting at the library on January 15th, and that was a lovely event. I also attended the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. activities on Monday, and want to thank everybody who came out in the cold for that. And speaking of cold, I want to thank everybody for bearing with all the snow and the unpredictable nature of snow and stop, and DPW for clearing us out so quickly. Looking to the future, I was supposed to have office hours this past Sunday, but the library closed, so we postponed it to this coming Sunday, January 25th, from 12:30 to 2 p.m. in the library. TBD on if snow comes again. So that would be with me and Dutchess County Legislator Chair Yvette Valdez-Smith at the library. I also, since we just talked about it, want to remind everyone that the next traffic safety meeting is this Thursday, January 22nd at 9:00 a.m. And I think that's all that I have.
All right. I also want to comment on a water main break and the work that has been done. I went to visit the site, and it was quite devastating, the amount of work that needed to happen. There were questions about the communication, and we started working with the city administrator to see how people can get notified in the future situations like this. And one of the main ways the city can notify people is through SWIFT 911 system. So I strongly encourage all the residents to sign up to SWIFT 911 and also update your address if you moved in the last couple of years. This program is can allow the city to notify residents in very specific neighborhoods or along specific streets. So if you have moved and living in a new address, you will not get the notification if you have not updated your address. I do have a concern about the tenants and people who rent, and how can we communicate to them that this program exists. So developing a couple ideas, perhaps we can find a way to have landlords notify their tenants about the existence of this program, because in my experience, renters usually slightly less involved in city, what happens in the city. We did have a lot of snow, and I still see quite a few sidewalks near people's houses that only have about a foot cleared. By law, it should be about 3 feet so that the sidewalks are ADA compliant. We do have residents, who use wheelchairs, we have parents with strollers, we have people who push carts, and that's really complicated to do if you only have a foot of snow cleared. So please, if it's your house, clean. If you see neighbors who struggle with the snow, elderly people, people with disabilities, please give a hand and help them to keep Beacon moving. I do want to share, I switched from gas to induction stove and about a month ago, and it has been a tremendous improvement in air quality in our house. We do a lot of cooking, and not having 4 burners going on at the same time, especially in the winter, definitely changes the feel inside the house. Super fast, clean, easy to wipe. Highly recommend and happy to demonstrate. I do want to second Yvonne's mentioning about Fishkill District Concept Committee. I heard similar concerns from residents that the presentation we did at the City Council meeting last year was not kind of many people didn't know it happened, and I think there was an expectation of something like the presentations that did take place in March when kind of midway report, and I think organizing something like this can be a very good closure for the great work that the committee has done, and I am happy to assist because this is part of Ward 3. Lastly, office hours, second Tuesday, February 10, 6 to 7 p.m. at Tracks at 1 East Main. That's it for me.
Thank you all. I will try and quickly echo some of what was said. Thank you very much to all of the MLK Day organizers. It was a beautiful event yesterday at Springfield Baptist Church, and thank you to the Southern Duchess Coalition and all of the speakers and honorees for that event. Also extending my congratulations on the opening of the community fridge at the library, to Fairground, and to the Howland Public Library. A reminder to the public that there are additionally tiny food pantries across the city if you are looking for non-perishable foods. There's also a Wednesday grocery distribution at Memorial Park run by Mutual Aid Beacon on every other Wednesday. Free breakfast at 4 Hannah Lane put on Beacon's backyard during the weekdays, and a free dinner at First Presbyterian Church on Liberty Avenue. Thank you so much to all of the volunteers and community members who continue to make sure that our community is fed. Also echoing thanks to the Highway Department for plowing and salting, and to the city staff for responding so quickly to the water main. In terms of other resources, would like to make sure people know that with these freezing temperatures, there are a few warming centers around the city, most notably the Howland Public Library. So if you need a space to get warm, I think it's a high of like 15 degrees on Sunday or something ridiculous like that. Please stay safe out there. I know that in the past we've also opened the rec center as a warming center, and would love an update on that if we're considering that. And lastly, in my new spare Mondays, every other Monday, I'm considering starting a newsletter or reviving the Community Quarterly program. But if you're listening to this in the public and you have any ideas about engagement opportunities or particular topics that you would like to see a city council member host a town hall or a workshop on, please reach out and let me know. I'm always looking for ways to engage the community. My office hours moving forward will be on the first Sunday of the month from 4 to 6 p.m. That means February 1st is my next open office hour, and I will be once again at Bank Square. And I'll leave it at that.
All right. Paloma, thank you for mentioning the warming centers. That was on my list as well. Can we make sure that those get posted either on city social media or website? It's going to be very cold for a couple of weeks here. I did not expect all that snow this weekend. I don't know if anybody did, but I really appreciate all the city employees who were out there, maybe doing more plow shifts than they thought they were going to be doing. So thank you. They did a great job keeping the streets and the sidewalks cleared. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention, was just the public comment around the bridge. I thought that was really interesting, and I appreciate that being brought to our attention. Are we able to ensure that's passed on? I'm not sure if it's the Bridge Authority or the DOT.
I think it would be the Bridge Authority, and we can pass it on.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Yeah, I would also like to thank the city employees who worked during the recent storms. To Amber's point, the roads were cleared very quickly, and I appreciate all of the hard work on that, and I know the other residents do as well. Unfortunately, I could not attend the events this weekend. I was getting sick, as most people were. I thought I dodged it. I did not. So PSA, if you have not gotten your flu shot yet, now would be the time to do it. In terms of office hours, so I'll be having my first office hour this Saturday at Bank Square, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. We can go a little late if time permits. We'll kind of feel out what the schedule is and how this goes as is, but I encourage anybody who can't make that time to reach out directly at my email, and I will meet you at a time and place that is convenient to you. In terms of a few items I have, I'd like to thank the city administrator for his work on some of the abandoned buildings that we've seen in Ward 2. There have been a couple, at least on Cliff Street, I believe, that we've looked into and have started the process of looking into and even remediating for one of them, as well as the church property on South Avenue. There has been a couple instances where that has not been boarded up, where the city has done a great job of coming in and making the property safe again as quickly as possible. So I do appreciate your diligence on that. In terms of other things that I had, as somebody who just paid their water bill, I would like to potentially talk to the city about modernizing their IT systems, particularly their public-facing portals. I do appreciate a website that looks like it was created in the 1990s, but I think we can potentially work on that, and that's something I'd like to address. One other item is the discussion about potentially a committee for the city. We don't currently have a Chamber of Commerce. I know I've had discussions with the city about a Chamber of Commerce and kind of what the historical precedent of that is and who's run that and how they've run that, et cetera. And I know we've discussed the potential of creating like a commerce committee, which would engage local stakeholders, particularly businesses in and along Main Street and anybody who's interested in that sort of work. So that's something that I will also be talking to the city administrator about. And then finally, I just wanted to talk a little bit about city communications. I had found that for anybody who has not yet followed the City of Beacon Facebook page, I find that the updates are very good and very timely. I would highly encourage you to do that. I know there are people who've reached out in the past few weeks about the city's communication strategy. That is the place I would go for timely information. And I've had a few constituents reach out actually and say they don't know who to reach out to. They'll preface an email and say, I'm not sure who to reach out to. This is, a concern for whatever. I would encourage anybody to just reach out to your council person with these concerns, and we will help route you to the correct person if need be. Do not be afraid to reach out. We can help you with that, and that's what we're here for. So I just wanted to PSA on that. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Paloma and Amber, for bringing up the Mormon stations. I did have that on my list as well. I want to give a big shout out to I Am Beacon, St. Andrew's Church, and the Beacon City School District. Their Honor Society, Junior Honor Society, and Student Council all did a coat drive at St. Andrew's Church on January 10th. I attended. It was amazing. For those who are in need of food, St. Andrew's also hosts a food pantry from 10 to 11 every Saturday morning. It's amazing. Also on January 10th, I attended the historic swearing-in ceremony for Mary McLemore, who is the first African-American to be sworn in as city council in the town of Newburgh. Congratulations to Fairground and their ribbon-cutting ceremony at our Holland Public Library for the community fridge. I attended that event as well as the 47th annual Martin Luther King March yesterday, and thank you to our DPW for making sure the streets were clear so that that event could take place as well. As far as office hours, again, I don't have any. I'm on your time, so please call me, email me. I will make myself available for you. I don't want you to have to be constrained to come and meet me for 1 or 2 hours, one day a week. So just reach out to me. I will schedule around your schedule to meet and make sure that you're heard. You put me in this seat and I want to be available to you. Thank you.
Great. I will avoid all of the ones that people have mentioned. That makes it easy. One, I have an appointment. I'm appointing Phil Stamatis as head of the Conservation Advisory Committee. He knows that. But I just wanted to make that public. The MLK event, I know I saw a lot of my colleagues there. I did stay for the entire event, and it's always a good thing. I've been doing that for at least 28 years. It's been a long time, as you will attest, right? And I think that's all. Oh, and I attended the Dutchess Community College breakfast up in Poughkeepsie. But otherwise, I'm done. I'll give it to the city administrator so we can get through our resolutions.
Thanks. I appreciate everybody raising great concerns. Sergey mentioned that we have a public service alert. It's actually called Rave 911. We left Swift. And you can just search Public Service Alerts, City of Beacon, or go to our website. You can sign up for that. And what that does is when we have a water main break and we have issues that we're trying to communicate, you can get a call, a text, an email, or all three. And some of the glitches that we had is people have moved from different spots of the city, and when we geo-locate a call, for instance, we just do it in one neighborhood, we might not have that person because they're registered in another part of the city. So it's good to check in and see if your information is updated. If your cell phone or your address has changed, please update that. I do also want to thank Ed Balicki and our water department for doing an amazing job on the worst water main break that we've had in the years that I've been here. This was a 90 to 100-year-old pipe that was off of Fishkill Avenue. It wasn't related to any work we were doing. It actually was the same age pipe of all that pipe that we have been driving everyone crazy with by blocking Fishkill Avenue. On the snowstorm, I just echo the great job that both our highway and our water departments did. They both worked together, and they did an incredible job this weekend trying to keep up with almost multiple storms that it just kept coming. I would just note that some of you, if you are doing office hours and you have a Facebook and you want us to publicize that, we can put that on our page. We started that, I think we did Urine Vets, and we're glad to do that. Or if you have other things, just let us know. We don't do anything political, but if you're meeting with constituents, that's awesome, and we would love to promote that. And the last thing is just to mention that the next round of applications for the ADU +1 program is coming up. Some people who've been watching know that ADUs are accessory dwelling units, and we participated in a grant with Hudson River Housing to help homeowners build smaller units in their apartments. If you've already applied and you didn't get funding, you don't need to reapply. But the next funding round is coming up, and if you go to the city website at beaconny.gov, you can get information on Hudson River Housing's registration process. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Local laws and resolutions. Let's do them. So, Resolution 11, we have some appointments. Would I get a motion to do all four together?
Yes.
All right. So there's a motion to, what's that called?
Consent agenda.
To have a consent agenda item to bundle resolutions 11, 12, 13, and 14, which are appointments. Do I have a second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so having said that, so the consent agenda, we would be appointing Marissa Lomonico to the Conservation Advisory Committee, Holly O'Grady to the Conservation Advisory Committee, Andrew Kurdiak to the Tree Advisory Committee, and Samuel Schmitz to the Traffic and Safety Planning Committee. Can I get a motion for that?
Motion.
So it's Amber, I'm sorry, the original one, so for recording was Amber and Zach. This one is Amber and?
Second.
And Sergey. Any discussion on this, having had the discussion earlier? I'm assuming not, so all in favor of those appointments say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that goes through, and as I said, I've appointed Phil Stamatis as head of the Conservation Advisory Committee. Okay, so Resolution 15, I'm looking for a motion and a second to authorize us to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the town of East Fishkill for sharing our tax assessor.
Motion?
Second.
And so that was Carolyn and Paloma. Any discussion in addition to that which we had in our workshop? Okay, all in favor of so doing, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. The next one is I'm looking for a
Motion?
motion to request from the state or from our elected officials.
It's, well, just state assembly and senate, but it's through your elected officials.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So I'm looking for a motion and a second to request an extension of our authorization of the room occupancy tax to our elected officials.
Motion.
So that
Second.
Amber and Paloma, and again, this would be making the request to our state assembly member and our state senator to pass an enactment to allow us to continue our room occupancy tax. And how long is those good for again?
2 years.
2 years at a time?
Yes.
God. Okay, that's the state law then, right?
Correct.
All right. So all in favor of doing so, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right.
I would like to request that at some point we get a report or some information on the tax collection that we've had. I know that it's only been a year. Maybe this report happens in 2 years after Mirabeau comes online, but would just like some information on the effectiveness of this law and the rate that we've chosen.
And maybe during budget time, that would be appropriate,
That sounds
because we
great.
set the level, like we set it for $200,000 for this year,
Yeah.
which is a big jump from the year before.
Great.
And that's Mirabeau.
Perfect.
Sorry, Lestar, it's only 2%.
I just won't stay.
That's the only reason I'm not staying there.
It's not the only one that I'm not staying there.
You can still access the grounds for free on the Greenway Trail.
No, that's
No?
not open
Well,
there.
no, not now, but
Yeah.
when it's open.
Okay, good.
And then last, I'm looking for a motion a second to set a public hearing on our CDBG grant program.
Motion by CBG.
Second.
Carolyn and Amber,
Sorry, I'm-
any discussion? I'm just going to keep saying CDBG. Say, any other further discussion? So all in
Beckett's Day.
favor of setting the public hearing for what date? February 16th?
Whatever is in the resolution.
The third
I
Monday
don't
of
have them.
February.
All right.
But there's
I'm not
holidays, it
clear.
might be a Tuesday.
It
It
probably,
is the Tuesday. It's
All
the
right.
17th.
So it's the
Thank
17th.
you, Ben.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
At least someone's got it down.
and we put it out a month because we didn't want to, sometimes we send stuff to the newspaper and it doesn't publish for 4 or 5 days, and that would really hit us because we have a 14-day window that you have to put it in before.
But the whole point of the Poughkeepsie Journal is that they're daily.
Well,
Good luck
so
on that.
all in favor of setting the public hearing for the CDBG grant program, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. This is the second, I got to do minutes.
I love it.
I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the minutes of January 5th.
Motion.
Zach,
Second.
Paloma,
Give it to Carolyn.
done. Any comments, additions, alterations, deletions? I know you all read them thoroughly and shared them with your families.
great.
and- Yeah.
All right.
Okay, hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes of January 5th, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? This is the second opportunity for public comment. Not observing anyone in the physical audience who hasn't spoken before. Anyone online, Ben?
No, Mayor.
All right. I do have to announce the next meeting will be on Monday, February 2nd at 7 PM at this facility. And again, we will have public comments up front, followed by a workshop, followed by the rest of our regular meeting. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Amber and Zach, I will entertain no discussion and go directly to a vote. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you all and good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
This is all right.